Space Oddities, we're thrilled to be back with you for today's launch of the Jupiter Icy Moons Explorer, or JUICE for short, on its mission, on its 8-year voyage to Jupiter, where it's going to be studying 3 of Jupiter's Galilean moons, Ganymede, Callisto, and Europa. Not studying Io, of course, because JUICE is an Icy Moons Explorer, and Io is incredibly volcanic, so there's not much point in trying to study that sort of environment at Io. How are you, Jonathan?
Good afternoon to you, Andy. Good afternoon, everybody. Yes, indeed, a 6.6 billion kilometre journey lasting 8.5 years. The expected rendezvous, Andy, July 2031. So it really
Wow.
is marking the historic day. And let's hope that the weather conditions that were preventing the launch yesterday, of course, lightning was in the area. We've got a green for go on this particular occasion. So yes, the excitement once again being ramped up very nicely at headquarters.
Great. Thank you, Jonathan. As you can see, we are 13 minutes and 40 seconds and counting away from the launch. And I'd like to say welcome to all our viewers. Thank you for those of you who have made it back here since yesterday. Hi, Rachel. See you're there again. And Ian and Kevin and the usual suspects have joined us today. And thank you for doing so, because it is Friday and I know people are usually busy down the pub on Fridays. Well, I'm speaking from experience, of course. So I'd just like to say welcome to all of you. I'd also like to welcome Michael along. How are you, Michael?
Hi there, Andy. Very well, thank you.
Good.
How are you all?
Yeah, we're fine. I was just thinking before this that I can't remember the last time Europe launched to a planet, and I've got a feeling it may have been Mars Express.
I think you might be right.
But yeah, but that was a very long time ago.
It was. Yes. I shall
So perhaps we can check that out during the program. Or viewers, if you know, put it in the live chat. When was the last time that Europe mounted a planetary mission? Because I've got a feeling it was Mars Express, which I think when did Mars Express launch? Ooh, we can check that as well. But perhaps one of our viewers will do that for us.
Well, I think I might have some information already.
Right.
Okay. The launch date was this. The 2nd of June 2003. So it's actually 20 years this year.
But Bernard has said we're forgetting Bepi Colombo.
Of course.
Of course. Of
to
course.
Venus.
So thank you, Bernard. Yes, of course. But before that, I think it had been Mars Express. So, Europe has had a long period without mounting any.
Yeah, sorry.
Your audio is breaking up terribly, Michael.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, and
can you hear me now?
No, you're breaking up. Yeah.
Perhaps
you can try going out and coming back in again.
And of course,
used to tell me. Yeah.
Legendary words there, of course, breaking up, which were used in the $6 Million Man, of course, when things went a bit wrong for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And it was an interesting side debate was taking place today with regards to this particular mission, and it was, Andy, that the space race technically never ended. Now, of course, it was obviously the first to get into space, which was 1-0 to the Russians, and then it was followed by, of course, the first EVA outside. Then it was, of course, first to the moon, and it appears that they were actually in this debate talking that this particular mission was still, in essence, part of the space race, as it will be to Mars as well. So I don't think it ever stopped. I mean, the goals that are being achieved are always goals to be achieved, but it's always been a case of by who and at a certain stage, or by at a sort of what date these can be achieved by. So I think the space race in essence, which started way back in the 50s, never really ended. It's always going to be a case for some of having the flag on the surface first, and I think that mentality is slightly reckless. it's we need to. It's a measured approach in order to cut down on the possibility of accidents and incidents. So, but yeah, that whole philosophy of being the first to do something or be the first to find life, it's also, it's probably something that actually never died a death, if you like, never really went away. Even despite being the first into space, first outside EVA and the first to the moon, these sort of things I don't think ever go away properly, because it's in the human psyche to do that, to be there, to be the first, and to prove. So, and I think today, I think Mars first, and then obviously the first to discover life. These are landmarks that are going to be treasured and sort of named by the countries. But hopefully, as we have gone through the decades, is being more of a level playing field for countries to be able to take part in this. And it all boils down to joint ventures. I think if we work simultaneously on many projects, a lot more can be achieved in a lot less time.
Absolutely. And the whole nature of space exploration is becoming a lot more multinational. And that's a good thing for the future, obviously, because even if you look at, say, NASA's Artemis program, lots of countries are involved, including Europe, in building hardware and services and whatever for the return to the moon. And talking about historic missions, may I just in advance warn our viewers or let our viewers know that on Monday afternoon, we're going to be doing live coverage of SpaceX's first attempt at getting the Starship into orbit. And the history books may regard it as an historic mission, because if the Starship is proven as a vehicle, it will open up the solar system for the exploration by humans. So Monday could be an historic day when they'll be launching from Boca Chica in Texas, the Starship on top of the Falcon Super Heavy booster, B7, as its number is. And they will try to get the Starship into orbit. It will complete, well, not a whole orbit, about 99% of an orbit, and splash down off Hawaii. So this is a really important mission for Monday. It's due to happen, we think, between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. UK time. We'll be covering it live here on Space Oddities. As ever with SpaceX and Elon Musk, you never quite know when things are going to happen. But we've been doing a bit of detective work, and we've pinned it down to Monday between 5 and 7 in the afternoon. If you can join us here on Space Oddities for that potentially momentous flight, that'd be fantastic. And you heard it here first, because I don't think any other channel has announced any coverage. I think we're the first to declare, as it were. So Monday between 5 and 7 here on Space Oddities, the first launch of the orbital Starship. If that date or time changes, which it may well do, knowing SpaceX, I will update the live stream in our channel with the details when it changes. So we look forward to seeing you on Monday. Right, that's the advert off. And Bernard says quite rightly that this is actually Ariane 5's penultimate flight. So after the next flight, I can't remember what the next flight is going to be, there will be no more Ariane 5, Europe's launcher. They'll be moving to the Ariane 6, and we can say goodbye to the Ariane 5. Michael, are you okay now? Say something. Can we hear you?
Hello there. Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's much better. Although you're a bit low, so I'll put your volume up a bit.
Yeah.
There we are.
Michael,
that should be okay.
Michael to Andy, come check.
Right. Okay. So we're 6.5 minutes away from launch.
Can I just mention, as we were talking about earlier spacecraft earlier, we mustn't forget the European Giotto probe to Halley's Comet.
Oh yeah. Alice Comet.
Giotto, yeah, absolutely.
I remember.
And Giotto, of course, was the first probe to take an image of the nucleus of a comet. So that was another first for Europe.
Yeah.
So Europe has had the distinction of taking the first image of a nucleus of a comet, and also, of course, the first people to land a spacecraft on a comet. So we're big in comets in Europe.
That's the space race still going.
And of course,
right. That's what you're saying.
Landing a spacecraft on Saturn's moon Titan.
Yes, indeed. So yes, the first to land on another moon. So yes, so Europe is very much at the forefront of space exploration. We may not make as big a fuss about it as the Americans do. We just get on with things in our own quiet, reserved way.
Valley gun all time, isn't it? Really, get on with the job.
Right. That's right. So so There we are. So we're now just over 5 minutes from launch. Viewers, if you have any comments or any questions, please put them in the live chat. I see you all having your own conversations in there anyway, so I'll just let you get on with that. And but if you do have any questions for us, then please do ask them. And of course, we'd like to thank you all for being here, as well as the Starship launch on Monday afternoon. We will, of course, be back later in the evening at 8 o'clock UK time with our usual live show on a Monday, or we may just, depending on how the timing goes, we may just stay on the air until then. We will see. But we will be here for our normal show on Monday. Now, I don't know whether either of you, Jonathan or Michael, have heard any weather reports about today, but we're getting pretty close to the countdown and they haven't stopped it yet, although it doesn't look as if it's a brilliantly sunny day there.
It's good to go. I think they showed a quick snapshot of the actual green and red sectors. That, of course, the red sector yesterday was with regards to the meteorological flight. So I think it was still green at that point. I think it wouldn't be the most appropriate time to pop to one of the vending machines at the actual centre and sort of get now. I think now is the time to sit tight. I think we're locked into this one now. This is we're good to go. I'm giving them a thumbs up. From Wales, good to go.
But I mean, it could all be halted at the last minute. I mean, that's what happened with SpaceX last week with the Falcon 9 launch, when the engines had actually started to ignite and the launch was scrubbed. So these things can happen. And there was the Delta launch not so long ago where the same thing happened. It got right down to the last half second before liftoff, and it was scrubbed because the rocket saw something it didn't like. So there.
And of course, with the Ariane 5, as soon as the main engine starts, you still have 7 seconds to wait before the solid boosters light up.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
As a safety.
That's true. Yeah. Your sound's still breaking up a little, Michael. I wonder why that is. Yeah.
I'm using a laptop, so I shouldn't.
There's your first mistake.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think what we'll do now, we will go over to the European Space Agency, and we're seeing views at the moment of the European Space Agency spaceport in Kourou in French Guiana in South America. I think we will join them live there now for the rest of the countdown. So fingers crossed for a great launch, and here we go. Just give me 1 second.
You can imagine everyone is intensely focused on the last couple of minutes to lift off, and we can see here, as I was telling you, the crowds that were sitting in Jupiter Control have now been asked to go out to the terraces on either side of the control room. They are among the lucky. Oh, so I didn't realize you could actually see us. We're sitting here in our skybox. So they're out on the terraces. And they will be the lucky ones who'll be able to see and also feel that launch, because trust me, you feel it. What are we going to see in the last few seconds before liftoff, Raphael?
Well, everything is going to happen quite quickly. So, like I said, the electrical power supply switch from ground to board. The cryogenic arms, which are feeding the upper stage with fuel, we'll see them retract 6 seconds before liftoff. The Vulcan engine will ignite first. We need to check it's working properly before we switch on the boosters. That's going to happen 7 seconds later. So don't be surprised if you don't see anything during these 7 seconds, because believe me, you will see and you will hear the launch.
And you'll be hearing every milestone being called out by the DDO. He is the Range Operations Manager, and his role is in an... Oh, we'll wait for the 1 minute mark. Raphael.
À tous de DDO, attention pour moins 1 minute. Top, H0, moins 1 minute.
Right, so from here on, no more commentary from us. Don't be surprised if it doesn't take off immediately, because of course there are those 7 seconds, Raphael.
Exactly, so just enjoy the launch.
During which the Vulcan engines are set on, and then the launcher takes off.
Go Ariane 5.
Go Ariane 5. Enjoy.
Go Ariane 5 indeed. Fingers crossed, guys. Here we go. The end of a long road.
À tous de DDO, attention pour le décompte final. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, top. Allumage Vulcain. Allumage AP, décollage.
It's up
Hey.
at last. We're on our way to Jupiter, folks. On our way to Jupiter's icy moons, an historic mission to find out whether those icy moons of Jupiter really do contain an underground ocean that might support life. So this is great. Straight
La propulsion est nominale.
Wow.
Is it now?
Never fails to thrill, does it? Look at that.
Look at that. Never gets old.
La propulsion est nominale.
Never. Exactly.
And there we go. We've seen the Ariane 5 lift off, roaring through the tropical sky, carrying Juice on the first leg of her journey into space. And now she has disappeared under the crowds. And see there, in Kourou, there are many places from which to watch these launches. As you can see, the beach, any place. And here we have a glimpse again of the rocket. Raphael, it's an amazing sensation for you as well, I'm sure.
Yeah, even with the clouds, it's just...
La trajectoire est nominale, tous les paramètres bord sont nominaux.
It's really, really always impressive, and it's an emotion to see it. So the DDO said that the trajectory is nominal, which means that it's working perfectly, it's going as planned.
La propulsion est nominale, le pilotage est calme.
And in fact, just to sum up what the DDO does in 3 words, his responsibility, he's the person who calls out every milestone along the way, and he's in charge of providing information on propulsion, guidance, and trajectory.
Exactly, he's like an orchestra conductor, gathering all the information and summarizing it in real time, and soon we'll have a booster separation.
We're waiting for confirmation from the DDO.
Séparation des EAP.
Yeah.
So the boosters have been safely separated. This is great. They have provided 90% of the overall thrust of the flight, so they're doing the main job. And then soon we'll have the separation of the fairing. And by the way, you see a special drawing on the fairing right here. Children around the world were asked to submit artwork
La trajectoire est nominale.
inspired by Juice's epic journey. And on this fairing, we see one child's interpretation of Jupiter embracing our spacecraft. Everything is nominal.
Tous les paramètres bord sont nominaux.
All parameters are going smoothly.
And there we have it. We've seen it in our 3D
Séparation preuve
animation,
confirmée.
and we've just heard it from the DDO.
Confirmed. So the fairing was used to protect the satellites from the friction of the air, but also from the noise generated during the ascent phase. We obviously need to safely separate the fairing, otherwise we would not be able to release Juice into space. It
La
also means
propulsion est nominale.
It also means that we have crossed the limit of the atmosphere. So Juice is on its way to be separated in about 24 minutes from now. So by the way, we will have so the separation of the cryogenic stage when it has placed the launcher on an intermediate orbit. After this, I can mention that during, and we can actually...
Okay, guys, so there we have it. Juice is safely on its way to Jupiter. Best of luck and many congratulations to the European Space Agency for another perfect launch. Hot on the heels of the perfect launch of the James Webb Space Telescope, of course, as we were talking about yesterday. So we're on our way to Jupiter, reaching there in 2031. And the mission...
Back.
Yeah, absolutely. And the mission, I don't know how long the primary mission is meant to last, but the main focus during the mission will be on the moon Ganymede, which Many of the instruments have actually been designed specifically to examine. And Ganymede, like Europa, like Callisto, is suspected of having a vast underground ocean, which may or may not harbour life. But we don't know anything about that ocean. But the magnetometer on board the spacecraft will be able to tell us how deep the ocean is, where the ocean floor is, how thick the ice cap, or the ice layer, should I say, of the moon is, because we assume that there's several kilometers of ice that makes up the crust of Ganymede, but we don't know how thick it is. But we will get to know all this from the spacecraft. So what are your thoughts, gentlemen, as we watch you sailing off the sunset, as it were?
Yeah, if you can hear me, okay.
Well, you're still breaking up a little, but anyway.
Still breaking up now. Okay.
Not quite so much.
Okay. But I was going to say, Juice is actually going into orbit around Ganymede, isn't it?
That's right. That's right.
So
Yes.
Will that be another first? I think.
Yeah, I think. I mean, is that going to be its final orbit? Because what they did with Galileo, of course, was destroy it by crashing it into the atmosphere.
That's right. It did. Yeah.
So that it didn't contaminate any of the moons.
Yeah.
So,
that's a good point, actually.
Yeah. But perhaps it will be in an orbit around Ganymede that will take thousands of years to decay or something. So it won't pose any danger to Ganymede unless something hits it, of course, which is highly unlikely.
Yeah.
So there we are. Okay, what are your thoughts, Jonathan?
Well, there you are. Just reading up now, there was a very slight risk that it wouldn't take place today, so that was good news. So that was a lingering threat there, but away she goes. And talking about Ganymede, of course, the largest moon in our solar system, 3,275 miles in diameter, and it's there really. It's got its own magnetic field, an iron core, and I think we were discussing a couple of weeks back on Space Oddities about the geological makeup, and of course it spans billions of years. So a real archaeological mine of information is being held within Ganymede, and to concentrate on that would be very key to understanding a lot of the building blocks, not just around the solar system, but the cosmos itself and how it was formulated. Of course, those key ingredients carried on the likes of meteors and asteroids, but here we have a specimen which we can really get to grips with, really examine, and by looking at Ganymede itself, we're looking back into the past,
yes,
the sort of history of the formation of the solar system, and that is absolutely critical. And I think some great discoveries await, but it was a case of watching the launch, and again, never fails to thrill, and it was great to be a part of seeing Juice safely launched into space. So good luck, Juice. Fantastic to see it lift off with no problems at all, and their very good record of Ariane launches continues.
Yes, indeed, and it will be sad to see the Ariane 5 go and be replaced by the Ariane 6. But the Ariane 6, of course, is a lot more modern spacecraft, because the Ariane 5 is long in the tooth now, as it were, as a booster. But it's been an exceptionally reliable booster. They had a few mishaps at the beginning, but since then it's been an exceptionally reliable booster for Europe. And it looks like so far this time, we've seen the main engine cut out there. So far this time, it looks to be reliable again. Oh, right, first stage separation. Hey. So the first stage has separated, and the spacecraft is now attached to the second stage with its single engine, and I think they said separation from that will be in about 20 minutes. So there we are. Okay, well, I think we will wrap things up for the day. Thank you to Jonathan and Michael for joining me today. Thank you to you, our audience, for joining us today. It's been a perfect launch, and we are now on our way back to the Jupiter. And I was thinking, Jonathan and Michael, that I will be well into my 70s by the time that that it gets to
Jupiter. Late 40s for me.
So that's something to stay alive for, if nothing else.
All right.
Sorry. What was that?
I will just be in my 70s.
Oh God, yeah. Well, you're only as young as the woman you feel. To quote Groucho Marx.
Shall we just say that Space Oddities will be back?
Absolutely. Space Oddities will be back in 2031 to give you live coverage of the arrival of Juice at Jupiter. Don't forget the live coverage of the Starship SpaceX first orbital flight attempt on Monday at 5 p.m. UK time. We hope you can join us for that. We will, of course, be back on Monday with our usual Monday show at 8 p.m. UK time. If anything changes with the date and time of the SpaceX launch on Monday afternoon, we'll let you know before that. So keep an eye on our Facebook page and, of course, this channel. So have a lovely weekend, everybody. So from all of us here at Space Oddities, thank you for sharing this moment with us, and we will see you very soon. So goodbye to Jonathan,
Thanks.
goodbye to Michael, and to Rachel and Daz, who are in the chat, and to all our viewers. Thanks, everybody, for being there, and Bernard as well, of course. And we will see you very soon. So have a fantastic weekend from us. For now, it's goodbye. Goodbye.